Welcome to Season 3 of the Guardians of Hope podcast. We are a community of parents, educators, health, legal, and tech experts dedicated to positively impacting children's lives. The thoughts and opinions of my guests are not my own. This is a platform for sharing. Hey, welcome, everyone. Blended families are more common than ever, and yet step-parenting might be one of the least talked about, least supported roles in modern family life. You step into a home with existing history, existing wounds, in existing relationships, and somehow you're expected to find your place without a map. Today, we're joined by Dr. Amy Toddy, a psychologist who specializes in co-parenting, divorce, and child development. Her work centers on one of the most important questions in blended family life. How do we build something healthy for children when the family structure is anything but simple? Dr. Toddy, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about this. So let's start with something very honest. Step-parenting has been a bit of an image problem, right? Between cultural stereotypes and the genuine complexity of the role. A lot of step-parents walk in already feeling like they're behind. So what's the first thing that you want them to know?
So, that's just such a great question because you're right. There are so many cultural stereotypes around step parenting, and it's really gotten a bad rap. The first thing that I want step parents to know is really you're not behind. You're entering a system that takes time, right? Step parenting, if it's done well, is one of the most important relationships in kids' lives that they'll ever have, but it has to be done right. And it's really like a slow grow process. So it is a very common family structure. About 1 in 3 US children will live in a blended family before they reach adulthood. And research shows us that step parenting relationships develop more slowly than other relationships do. And Cynthia, it's just what you said, right? Like step parents walk into a situation where there are already wounds from the history. There's already systems and traditions and habits in place that kids are used to and navigating. And now you're trying to integrate yourself into that life that you haven't been a part of previously. So it is normal for trust and closeness to take years, not days, weeks, or months.
Yeah, exactly. And you use a phrase that I love, support, don't disrupt. Can you unpack that for us? And what does disruption look like in a blended family? And how do well-meaning step-parents accidentally do it without realizing?
So the way that step parenting can disrupt rather than support is really when step parents come in and I will say, like most step parents I've worked with, of course, are well intentioned, right? This comes from a good place. You want to create strong bonds with the kids you're going to be step parenting. You're trying to be a positive force of good in their life, right? But sometimes step parents come in and they are so eager to start in their new role that they may unintentionally disrupt the existing attachment bonds that exist, or create a situation where they're competing with the biological parents that these kids already have because they're trying to find their place, right? So sometimes what the research really shows is that the conflict or the tension that exists with step parenting is really around role confusion and boundary ambiguity. Like, what is my role here? How do I fit in? You're maybe a little insecure coming in to a family, especially because you're contending with all these cultural stereotypes that you started talking about, Cynthia, right?
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, these are new relationships with the children. And you also have the triangulation between your partner, right? Your romantic partner, as well as that partner's co-parent who is not present in your daily life, but who is still parenting those kids. And if there's tension that exists between your partner and your partner's co-parent, that can be really difficult to navigate as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You brought up such an incredible point. I wanted to ask you something about figuring out where their lane ends and where that co-parenting relationship begins. So, how do
Mhm.
you counsel step parents on navigating that boundary, especially when they're watching their partner struggle with a difficult co-parent? Like you mentioned, there may
Mhm.
be some challenges between that existing relationship. And every instinct is telling the new spouse or partner to step in, but they should probably stay in their lane. So, what do you have to say to all of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, what I have to say is just understanding that when you first enter a family as a step parent, like I said, your relationship with the kids and your place within that system will grow slowly. And you have to expect and lean into that and embrace that rather than trying to fight it. Because with kids, and this is actually a rule that goes well beyond step parenting, it's like a rule of thumb. You
Hmm.
have to connect with them before you can start correcting or leading, right? So the relationship with them, and this can take years, right? It's not necessarily something that's going to happen over days, particularly because kids are often bouncing back and forth between their, their home with you and your partner and their
Hmm.
co-parents home, right?
Right.
And what they are navigating is loyalty binds between parents. They might be worried, like, oh, if I love my step parent, what is my other parent going to think? The parent who's not present, they might really
Mhm.
feel like they need to protect that other parent. There's a lot of confusing emotions that are going on for kids during that time. And so easing into that role, really being sensitive
Hmm.
to the fact that kids are going to be slow to warm to you. That is normal. It is natural. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that you failed. It is a long game, right? And so the mistakes that I see step parents making is stepping into discipline too quickly, right? So you really have to spend a long time, sometimes years, really just being there, being a supportive person for your partner and as well as for, the kids that they are parenting, right? So
Yeah.
having respect for the difference in those roles. Another mistake I see step parents making is just competing with the other parent. Like I was saying before, kids really struggle when they are forced to choose loyalties between their parents. And so if you are a stepmom and you're trying to compete with the role of a biological mom, that's going to place tension and stress, not just on the kids, but on the entire family system. And then the other mistake I see step parents making is rewriting family rituals too quickly, right? There's already um, patterns and routines and structure around what those kids are doing when you step into that family, and blending families really takes the wisdom to understand that, like, you want to step into that slowly, right? You want to change things slowly so that kids nervous systems don't get shocked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So those are just some things. I guess one other thing that I would say is, like, step parents often step into families that are really struggling. Like, maybe your partner and their co-parent are having a lot of tension and you are kind of on the outside. So that gives you perspective that they may not have. And you may think, like, oh, I can fix this problem, right? Or the child in the family that you step into is really struggling. Maybe they're even just struggling in school or struggling with something else. Like, oh, I can come in and handle this. I know how to do it.
Hmm.
Right. Jumping into that too fast, again, is going to put you in a competitive role with the other parents that are involved. And it might feel just intrusive to the child you're trying to help rather than feeling supportive.
Yeah, that all can be overwhelming. And connecting back to the child's perspective, from their point of view, what does a healthy step parent look like? And how do kids experience the difference between a step parent who's actually getting it, um, or someone with, even with good intentions, adding stress to the child's life?
I mean, it's such a great question, right? So, um, what I can tell you is what research shows about step parenting is that healthy relationships with step parents are really associated with more positive outcomes for children, that extend well into adulthood. So it really is an important role. Um, but in terms of responding to your question, it's warmth and support first. The child in that family needs to experience you as like a mentor, a supportive adult, right? Like in my family, I, I'm married and I have my own kids. I'm very close to my sister, and my kids are very close to her. And sometimes
Mhm.
they'll come to her with things that they won't come to me with because she's a different person. And I love that they have that attachment bond, right? But my sister does not come in. She defers to me as a parent, right? She doesn't
Right.
come in and try to rule differently on things that I've already made a decision about, for example. And she has built those bonds with them over time. And so, really being warm, supportive, being like a bonus person, listening, like giving, I think from a parenting
Mhm.
perspective is most of the time a mistake anyway, but particularly when you're in a step parent role, your insecurity might motivate you to try to present like confident, with a lot of advice or ideas or,
Mhm.
perspectives. Really what you want to do though is hang back and let those kids come to you and be that listening ear, that person who just shows up for them, the soft place to land for them. And the other thing that I would say, besides the warmth and the approachability, the other thing would be just having tremendous respect for the role of biological parents, even if your partner's co-parent is very flawed, even if they're an alcoholic, even if you feel like they're inappropriate or abusive. Research shows us that the quality of children's relationship with their biological parents, that can go up and down, and sometimes the quality of those relationships are poor, but the
Mhm.
attachment can still be very strong. And really, when we're trying to protect loyalty binds, we're trying to protect that indelible attachment, because that is what's associated with kids' self-esteem. So the idea would be, if you reject my other parent, if my other parent is bad, if they're unworthy, if you hate them or don't love them, does that mean you reject me too? Do you not
Yeah.
love me too? Am I not good enough? Right? That child will not see those biological parent bonds as separate from who they are. So, really, as a step parent, coming in with the wisdom and understanding that that child needs to know that you are not threatened by the love they have for that other parent, that
Mhm.
that your partner isn't threatened by that love, that children have enough love in their hearts to love multiple people in a lot of different ways, and you are going to always support those attachments. Doesn't mean condone bad or abusive behavior. That's not what I'm
Mhm.
saying, right?
Mhm.
But supporting the attachment that child has with both of their biological parents, hugely important for step parenting.
Yeah, it's so wonderful that you define the difference. Like you shared that they can have a strong, consistent attachment versus the relationship
Mhm.
and the communication and the feelings associated with that other parent. So thank you for making that distinction. Now, one last question for you. For listeners who are in the thick of it right now, maybe they feel invisible or like no matter what they do is wrong. What's the most important truth that you want them to hold on to? I know you talked a lot in depth about just taking time. It can take years, but
Mhm.
what should they know about what they're actually building, even right now when it doesn't feel like it's enough?
Yeah, I mean, great question. Positive step parenting relationships significantly improve child outcomes. So, children who have warm, supportive relationships with their step parents, research shows us that they have better psychological well being, fewer behavior problems, and better academic adjustment. So, stay the course.
Hmm.
Try to remember to fall back on that warmth, support role, right? Honor the child's relationship with their biological parents that already exist, and know that you are building something amazing, but that the relationship will grow over time.
Thank you, Dr. Toddy. Now,
So
where
happy
can
to be
people
here.
find you? Where can they find more about you and your work? I know you have a wonderful website with lots of resources. So, why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, so you can find me if you want to go to my website. It's www.toddypsychology.com, and you can see how my name is spelled right there on the screen.
Hmm.
And then the other place you can find me is on Instagram, and so my handle is Dr. Amy Toddy, and I'm posting a lot on topics related to co-parenting, step parenting, as well as just parenting and child development in general, because that's another background for me. So yeah, I'd love to see you in either of those online communities.
Amazing. Dr. Toddy, thank you again for
My
your
pleasure.
wisdom and the beautiful view. I
Yes.
so appreciate your time. Thank you.